welcome to October. All right, so we started this whole horror thing going into this season last week, but now we are actually full-fledged into this. What better way to do something that I'm passionate about than to talk about my all-time favorite franchise of all time, the Alien franchise. I eat, breathe, and sleep the Alien franchise. There's this trend going on right now where people talking about, asking their husbands, like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And I can answer that question right now. My Roman Empire is the Alien franchise. There is not a day that goes by where I'm not thinking about the Alien films. That's just my reality. With that being said, we are going to be doing a full ranking of the entire Alien franchise, all of the films. Now, I'm only counting the OG series and the prequel series as canon. I do not consider the AVP films to be canon. I will be including them regardless, though, so they will be in this list. My list may be controversial to other Alien fans, and it has been in the past, and my opinions do not necessarily align with the broader Alien fan base. There's several layers to the metrics as to how these are ranked, but I think that the one that has the largest weight for me is personal preference / rewatchability. So there's going to be a few names that are mentioned throughout this list that I think we should all kind of get out of the way now as to who they are. Now, obviously, Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett are the creators of the Alien franchise. I'm not going to give you that full overview today. I'm not going to talk about how Alien started and all that. I'm giving you a ranking, but these are names to get out of the way that I think are important. H.R. Geiger is the guy that designed the Alien. I actually have a lot of work done tattoo-wise, so I'm actually going to show you that before we get started. Kind of a requirement. Sorry, guys. I told my tattoo artist that I wanted something inspired by Geiger, but just to kind of go crazy with it and create your own design, and he did a great job. This is where a lot of my work is very inspired by Geiger. Oh, we're going down. Okay. Maybe we'll go over other tattoos in the future. Just to kind of give you context as to how important the Alien franchise is to me. There's that. Let's get started on this list. Like I said, it's from my least favorite to my most favorite. The first one is going to be that we're going to be talking about is Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is definitely the weakest. I think most people agree that it's the weakest film in the franchise. I'm going to be honest with you. I've only seen this movie twice. I saw it when it first came out, hated it, never watched it again until recently. My opinion didn't change much objectively. I don't think that the Alien franchise needs to be campy. And a lot of people are probably thinking, what do you mean campy? It's just bad. I'm like, yeah, but when I watch it, there's just a lot of lines. The way that it's written and the way that the script is, it's just like, it just sounds insanely, it's almost like a sci-fi channel original. It was very like Sharknado. We all can agree that this movie is just not good, I think, right? I think we could all agree on that, at least. There is a movie that I think did the campiness of the whole thing a little bit better, and that is Alien Resurrection. Alien Resurrection I liked a little bit more, even though I do think it's a little wonky and campy and ridiculous at times. A lot of people think that this film is the underdog of the franchise. I would kind of disagree. I think that Alien Resurrection is one of those films that that didn't really do necessarily well when it first came out, but over the years, people have began to really fall in love with. And I'm one of those people. I never cared for Alien Resurrection when I was growing up. I thought it was okay. But the older I got, the more I liked it. And when I watch it now, I really do enjoy it. I don't know, it's just better. And maybe not by much, but it is definitely better. And I think we could all agree that Alien Resurrection is fun, and it's enjoyable to watch at the very least. You got Winona Ryder in there, Joss Whedon actually wrote Alien Resurrection. I'm trying to block that out because I don't want to even imagine that this man is anywhere near my favorite franchise. So I always kind of block that out because I despise Joss Whedon with a fiery passion. I like to say that Joss Whedon is the H word of, and by H word I mean a particular political figure from World War II that apparently you can't say on YouTube anymore. Yeah, him. I always say that he is that of the film industry because he is probably one of the worst human beings on the face of the planet. He destroys intellectual property, takes giant turds on film sets, figuratively and probably literally, insanely racist and sexist. I do not throw those words around lightly. I don't believe that everything in the world is absolutely this or that. But this man has a history. The next film on this list is Prometheus. I'm never really in the mood to just like, hey guys, let's watch Prometheus today. Even though it really does offer a really interesting perspective by going back to the beginning. And there's some really tense moments and a lot of, lore building and breaking, I might say. Prometheus was directed by Ridley Scott. It was his return to directing, because he directed the first one, right? Great writers here. So we have a great team, right? We have the creator of Lost. There are some really good things about this movie. I'm not going to get into the lore. A lot of people have a lot of problem with the over-explanation of the xenomorph. The next one on the list is naturally Alien Covenant. Alien Covenant was also directed by Ridley Scott with a different team this time. I think it shows. It's a little bit more faster paced. We get to see the xenomorph again, finally, more often with really, updated special effects. And narratively too, I love the origin story and the creation of the xenomorph and the whole story arc with David, the android. All of these things together were just so interesting to me. A lot of Alien fans did not like that. They always said that they were, the whole point of Alien was that it's supposed to be alien. We're not supposed to know too much about it or its history or its origin. I agree to disagree there. I think that it should naturally reflect science. The longer something exists or the longer we know of something's existence, we're naturally going to learn more about it. It adds context that I feel deepens the lore. And if you're not a fan of that, that's your right. But me personally, I am. The next film on my list is going to be Alien vs. Predator. Why is this so high on my list? Objectively speaking, it's not as strong of a film from a cinematic standpoint as Prometheus, Alien, or even Alien Covenant, really. But for me, I had to make this one come down to rewatchability, but also nostalgia. When this movie came out in theaters, August 12th, 2004. Okay. I went to see it on my birthday on August 25th. And I had already been a fan of this franchise for years. I had already seen the first 4 films over and over and over again. So when I found out that AVP was happening, my dad was like, yep, we're seeing that in theaters. Every single time I get to see this movie, I'm taken back to that experience of being able to see the xenomorph in front of my face in theaters, up close and personal for the first time. It's more so about my history with the franchise and how I felt when I watched it for the first time. It's just, and I love the fact that I still get those feelings when I watch it today. Alien vs. Predator was written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. I think he did all right, considering that he had a huge undertaking to revive this franchise, right? And for him to take that while combining it with another IP like Predator. So I enjoy it. I still watch it. I watch it pretty often. Now let's get to the top 3. I think we already know where this is going, but you might not know where this is going, because if you know me at all, you know which one of these films is my favorite. My top 3 starts with Aliens, written and directed by James Cameron. It's entertaining. It took a movie that was fully based on slow burn and under your skin fear and turned it into an action sci-fi blockbuster film. How do you take a film and turn it into something completely different and have it still be just as successful, if not more successful than the original? The story behind it is also really interesting, and how the problems that the movie had during production. Watch that episode of Movies That Made Us that talks about this film. The next movie on this list is Alien, the first one. There's so much to be said about this film. I don't even know where to start. I mean, the xenomorph in of itself is a representation. I've written college papers, by the way, on this, and particularly the themes of sexuality, forced birth on a male character, body anxiety, body transformation, homosexuality, this really strong sexual message that comes from the xenomorph itself. Not only do you have that message, but it's double layered, multiple, it's multifaceted, because you've also got the, conglomerate company that is basically using this crew to bring back the specimen, and at whatever cost, even if it means lying to them about the reason they're there. This movie has a lot to say, and it says it well. Ridley Scott's direction is great in this. He's known for his camera work and how it's his philosophy of constantly keeping the camera moving, which in this case really builds that anxiety. So now there's only one film left, and we all know what it is at this point. So again, let the firing squad begin. Alien 3 is my favorite and has always been my favorite Alien film. One, I'm biased because David Fincher is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. Alien 3 is his feature debut, his feature film debut. His work on this film is phenomenal. It is creepy, it is unsettling, it harkens back to that original energy of that fear and that tension that the first film gives. Breaks away from the glamour and glitz of the blockbuster film that Aliens made, but it returns to form from that first film in a lot of ways that people just don't get. This movie's not perfect. It has a lot of problems, and it was definitely a Frankenstein film. It was directed by David Fincher, and the writing credits on this film, let's just go over them real quick. David Giler, Walter Hill, Larry Ferguson, story by Vincent Ward. That's a lot. That's a mouthful. This is really where it gets complicated. Let's just say that this movie, the idea for this movie went through so many iterations before we ended up with what we had. And there's actually even audiobooks out there for how the movie was originally supposed to play out. And that was actually pretty cool too. I really enjoyed that. So initially, William Gibson wrote a script. He was a cyberpunk author. The whole idea was supposed to be really, really heavily action oriented, even more so than the second one. It's almost like the first one's horror, the second one's kind of like action horror, and then the third one is just going to be flat out action. After the writer's strike started, to happen, the guy who came in who was supposed to direct it had a different vision than Gibson, and they butt heads a lot, and basically the studio asked them to rewrite the script together, and Gibson pulled out of the project. He's like, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm done. After Gibson left, they brought on Eric Reed. They got together and started working on this crazy idea where there was various different alien breeds, and there were new characters, and the whole thing was way too far removed from the original story that they had in mind, and so they ended up rejecting the script altogether, and that led to the next incarnation of what the script was supposed to be. Now, like I said, it is crazy how many developments were made in this. It's insane. Gibson's script was supposed to be this allegory on communism. Then the fall of communism happened, and now the analogy was considered to be kind of moot and point, and it wasn't relevant anymore. So they had to basically throw out Gibson's idea altogether and start from scratch and create something brand new. They bring on Vincent Ward. And this guy creates this really cool, it's like a wooden planet full of monks, and it's this whole religious thing with religious undertones, and that was just such a cool idea. But the production team did not know how they were going to make this beautiful concept of this wooden planet work. So they were trying to make these changes, right? And there's rather than making them be it's like a wooden planet of monks, why not make it like a prison planet situation where they're all prisoners? Ward was not really happy with that. He was actually able to kind of talk them off that ledge for a while, but then they made this list of all these changes that he had to make. He refused, and he was removed from the project. Yeah, Walter Hill and David Giler wrote a brand new script, just taking all of these basic notes from Vincent Ward's idea, completely constructing this new idea. There are prisoners. It's a prison planet full of male prisoners, men only. Now this, in my opinion, ended up being I think, the perfect plot and the perfect setting for this third film. Ripley crash lands on this planet, right? She's the only female on a male prison planet. That alone is a terrifying thought enough. But then to add the xenomorph back into this thing where she's trapped in a planet full of men who don't respect her, don't listen to her, don't pay attention to her warnings about shit that she's dealt with this entire time, what we ended up with story-wise did a lot for the lore. It introduces the concept of the aliens being able to take on the characteristics of their host. Okay, so we see it depending on what version you watch, which is also confusing. It's either a dog or an ox. That's a whole other story I'm not going to go into. But anyways, whether you're watching the theatrical version or the director's cut, which, by the way, I'm talking about the director's cut mainly because the director's cut is so much better than what the theatrical version was. I just want to make that clear too. If those of you saw Alien 3 and you're like, this sucks, watch the director's cut. It is so much better. It's like watching Justice League and then watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's like the same movie, but completely different. Like, that's how I feel about the theatrical version of Alien 3 and the director's cut. So that's it, really. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and harp on this and say the same things over and over again. Real quick before we depart is what's happening next? We've got a new movie that's going to be, directed by Fede Alvarez, the guy who actually did the 2013 remake of The Evil Dead, which I loved and a lot of fans loved. Apparently there is absolutely no connection to the other films. It's almost like a whole solo standalone story. I'm not sure I'm convinced. I think that they're hiding something from us because they always do. There's actually been some rumors that this film might take place revolving around the crew that was supposed to go in between Alien and Aliens. But we don't know. We don't know. It's not supposed to come out until I think August of 2024. I know that the movie was originally scheduled to be released on Hulu, but they switched to a theatrical release. So the Alien series, all I know about it is that it's supposed to be set 70 years before the events of the film Alien, and it's gonna star Sidney Chandler, Alex Lothar, Samuel Blinken, S.A. Davis. Yeah, not a lot is known really about this. That's going to be in development for FX on Hulu. It was incorrectly reported to have been suspended due to the strike. So maybe the strike isn't halting this production. I don't really know. There's a lot up in the air right now. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I'm going to be doing another countdown as well. I'm going to be probably doing a lot of those during horror. I have a lot planned for y'all. Should I have like a sign out that I do every single time I go? Like, unidentified films. UFO out of here. UF y'all. UF. It appears that we have seen an unidentified film object. Evacuate immediately. No. What? You know what? How about this? Bye.